Welcome back to the Living Proof Recovery Podcast. We're your host. I'm Evan. This is Breezy B.
What's up?
I guess tonight we kind of got a little different type of episode we're going to do tonight. So we'll jump right in and let Brian kind of kick it off here.
Yeah, so we were just talking about, we're going to talk about tonight a little bit like what it was like, because we're always talking about the solution for a good reason. But we're going to talk about a little bit what it was like, maybe throw some identification out there tonight. And so I was thinking that, it's a good day, man. Like, it's a good day. I didn't have to wake up and sniff a couple pain pills just to get out of bed today. I didn't have to pop some Adderall to have energy today. And that's a good thing, because there was a time when everything, and I'm not exaggerating, like everything revolved around the next one. Like, so much so to where you can't even enjoy the one you've got because your mind's on the next one. And for so long, it was just like, that was my life. It was just like this animalistic level of living of the next one, constantly thinking about, how am I going to get it? How do I have to scheme? What lies do I have to come up with? What lies do I have to keep up with from yesterday's lies? And it's just exhausting. It's an exhausting way to live. But it seemed like the only normal one. Like, it became normal for me to need pain pills to get out of bed or wake up. There was times where I would wake up in the middle of the night and snort an oxy and then go back to sleep, and just waste it. In the morning I'd be mad. I'd be like, I don't have any now. Like, why did I do that? Like, just this compulsion constantly it was on my mind even when I was asleep. Like, I would wake up, say, I need to snort. I'd go to the bathroom, I'm going to snort a pill, and then go back to bed. It's just craziness. Like, but I would do that kind of stuff. And then wake up the next day, like, with intentions. Like, I would go cop some drugs, right? I would go get, handful of pills or 10 pills. And I'm like, okay, with good intentions, these have to last me for X amount of days. Like, maybe it's 2 or 3 days or whatever it is, like, or the week. These have to last me for the whole week. And I would have I would divvy them up in different containers or different cellophanes or something and put them in different places and this is for Tuesday, this is for Wednesday. And then knowing every time I would always dip into it. And then by the time Wednesday rolls around, I say I bought 20 pills. By the time Wednesday, the next day, I've got 3. And I'm like, okay, I've really got to buckle down and make these last. And then as soon as I take the first one, it's like, okay, 30 minutes later, I need another one or another half of one. I'll just do a half, and that'll last me. And then 30 minutes later, I'm going to do another half. And then before you know it, 2 hours into that day, I'm looking for more. I'm trying to find more, or I've woken up in the middle of the night and took my morning dose. So when I wake up, I don't have anything. I'm sure you've done that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to think back. So for me, it's been kind of, I've had different points through my life. Like, I think back to how it all started, and then we've talked about it before, how our use was it was the same, like opiates were both of our main thing, but it was different as far as the way my addiction took me versus the way yours did, right? Like, mine started younger, back when I was a teenager,
right? From
doctors prescribing me, and it progressed into from Percocets to Oxycontin to Opana days to then eventually to heroin, you know what I mean? And And but it was the same way, no matter what it was, as far as, especially once I got, so it was like the doctors prescribing me oxys at 16 years old to, buying and selling the Oxycontin just to support my habit.
Right.
And then which led to the Opanas. And then it was once I got into the heroin and became an IV drug user, that's what really brought me to my knees.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And obviously I was in a very bad place before that.
Right. Yeah.
Because I can think back to,
At least I'm not shooting heroin.
right.
You know?
Oh, I've done plenty of that, you know, and I can think back to even through the Oxycontin and Opana days, like when those times were coming to an end. I remember these Opanas and Oxys, $80 to
$80 a piece,
$100 for one pill.
Yeah.
And back then, at this time, I had gotten into a really bad car accident and came into
The settlement.
a good chunk of money, right? And I remember going through this ridiculous amount of money.
Was it like 100 grand?
No, at that time it was, after lawyer fees and all that, I ended up getting like somewhere around $70,000. And I went through this money.
Just hit the lottery, son.
I went through that money in less than 4 months.
Good God.
And that was during the time where, like I said,
You're lucky to be alive.
yeah, these pills were $100 a piece, and I would wake up every morning, and the first thing I would do is go to the bank, get $1,000 out, and I would go buy 10 Opanas.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, I've got these 10, and this person that I was with at the time, they would get 2 of them.
Right. Yeah.
I've got 8.
Gotta be fair. Yeah.
I've got 8. So I'm going to do 6 of these today and have a couple for the morning, but it was the same way. I would always get to that point to where it's like, wait a minute, I wake up the next day and I'm like, I'm lucky I got a half of one left to start the day, you know, and it was the same thing, just that craziness of the give me more, and that's what it was. And, once those went away, and then I was introduced to the heroin because it was cheaper, right? And then I was introduced to the needle, and that really became my master. The first time I used heroin in a needle, I remember that moment. I remember where I was at, who I was with, and I remember that initial feeling that came over me, and then it was just black and darkness.
Seeing colors.
Oh no, there was no colors.
Black.
It was black. That was the color. And woke up to doctors high-fiving over top of me in the hospital because they had brought me back to life.
And they're like, I'm going to go back and get some more of this shit.
And then within 2 hours of leaving the hospital, I was doing it again.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sign of a man who has lost the choice. Mm-hmm. That's sick.
Yeah.
Like a normal person, if someone normal is listening to this, like they'll hear that and go, what?
Yeah.
You did what? Mm-hmm. That didn't scare you away from it?
It didn't,
like,
dude.
No.
I had at that point in my life, and this was 2010, at this point, and I had no desire to live, dude. It did not scare me.
Right.
That I just almost died. I was dead. I mean, they shot me with a Narcan. It took 4. They had hit me with Narcan in the hospital like 4 times to bring me back at that point. And they told me, like, you were completely blue. Like, I don't. Yeah. And it didn't faze me. I remember my mom calling my cell phone while I was in the hospital, and she's like, I'm on the way. And I was like, no, the fuck you're not. Like, because I'm leaving.
Right.
Don't come here. And my mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My mother.
Yeah.
And I'm like, such a piece of shit. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not coming here. I don't want you here.
Like, I gotta go make something shake.
Yeah,
I gotta go make some moves.
You know, so, and police are there and all, and I'm just out of my mind still.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just know I wasn't there very long after they brought me back because I was making such a scene that they were just like, get this dude the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You know, and then I was back to doing the same thing. I was not scared. And that's sad to say at that point in time in my life. That's just where my mental state was at, that I had nothing. I was like, fuck, if I die, like, what does it matter?
Yeah, the alternative is having to live. And it's like, that's what we're afraid of, is having to live. We're not afraid of death. It's like, I'm afraid to live.
Yeah. And then I can look at, you know, like, I wish I could say that was my only overdose through my life, but it just wasn't. You know, and that's just not the way things went for me. And for some reason, I'm still here. But it was such a dark time in my life. And then I'm sitting here thinking about my mother, how I, you know, at that time, the way I reacted and treated her. But then at that same time, you know, I came into this settlement back then, and my mother was my biggest supporter, but enabled the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Right? So at that time, you know, I was never able to hold a job. I never had any ambitions. I didn't care to do anything, you know what I mean, other than use drugs. And there was times
That's your job.
Yeah. I had nowhere to live. My parents, my mother, I wasn't allowed at their house. I wasn't allowed to stay at my dad's house. You know, there was time like that. It was just easier for me to not be around. But at the same time, my mother was putting me up in, like, at this point, she had got me an apartment that she paid the rent for. She paid all the utilities for. She paid the car insurance for me. She paid myself, like, paid everything for me. And here I am on my deathbed, and she just wants to come see her son. And I'm like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not. You know what I mean? And I came into even when at that point when I came into all this money, I didn't offer to pay my own bills.
Right.
You know, that's the kind of sick mind state I was in, though. You know, and just sad, man. It's just pathetic, is what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
it's craziness.
That phenomenon of craving, once it starts, we do things that we would just normally not do. You know, like, it drives all of this stuff. Once it's the substance is in, it's off to the races. It's like all bets are off. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, like, there's times when, so I was a beer drinker, like, as far as alcohol is concerned, like, that was my number one go-to was beer. I love beer. And I mean, I like to drink bourbon and whiskey and vodka and stuff too, but like, usually, like, I liked beer, like, because I had this false sense of control when I took opiates and drank, because I was like, okay, I can control this, you know, because if I'm drinking whiskey, I'm probably going to black out, and I'm just going to get really drunk, and I'm going to be stupid and probably get locked up or something, or get in a fight, and I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to drink 25 beers, you know, but, you know, like, I felt like I had control over it, you know, because it was more of a, I guess, a gradual buzz. Then it would always get out of control. I would always have too much, but I felt like I had this sense of control. And I remember there was a time, like, I would buy, I'm sure you've probably done this, like, have you ever been to an ATM more than once in a night? You know, it's like, why'd you take out only $40 3 times?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, cool. At the time, I only wanted $40 because I just wanted to buy whatever. But then once that was gone, I needed to go get another one. But what I would do, like, I would buy like a 12-pack of beer. Like, okay, this is going to last me the next 2 nights. I'm going to have like 6 beers, watch the game. And then the next day I'll still have some if I want to watch another game or cook at Grill Out or whatever, you know. And every time, man, like, I would be there, start drinking, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to drink all these. And then I would drink all of them and be like, okay, I'm a little too buzzed to drive to the gas station, or to walk, because at that time I lived close to a gas station. I was living in an apartment. This was when I was like 23. And I remember I lived right across the street from a gas station. And I was like, one night I got too drunk. And I was like, I'm too drunk to walk over there. So I'll drive. Makes no sense whatsoever. But I would always do this. Like, I would go, I'm just buying a 6-pack. Like, I'd drink a 6 in an hour. They're gone. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go buy another 6-pack. And then I drink them, and I'm going to go get another 6-pack. And like, I'm spending more money by buying 6-packs at a time. But in my mind, I'm saying, this is all I'm going to drink. And then I would end up drinking 18, from time I got off work at 5 until 10 o'clock at night. And then you throw in smoking weed and popping pills, and like, I'm just a shit show, And I remember there was one time, it was like before I got into the pills and stuff, I was just drinking a lot. And it was on Thanksgiving Day. This is so embarrassing. Like, Thanksgiving Day, I was working in a grocery store, like in the meat department there. So I had to work for like 4 hours in the morning. Like, people bring stuff in, like hams and stuff, and they want them sliced and stuff. So I had to be there. And another guy that worked with me, he's one of us. And he was one of these guys that, like, he always had whiskey on him because he would shake if he didn't have his whiskey, right? Mm-hmm. And I enabled that. Like, he was my friend, but I was his boss. And I was just like, oh, yeah, like, whatever. So he comes in on Thanksgiving, and he's got, like, a 5th. And we're there for 4 hours, man, and we just kill this very old Barton 5th. Now, keep in mind, when I get off work, I have to go home and shower and go pick up my kids for Thanksgiving. And I'm like, I'm just going to have a couple drinks, a couple shots or whatever. Because I remember in my head, I was thinking, it's my first Thanksgiving that we're separated, getting a divorce. It's going to be weird. I got to go pick up my kids, and it's just going to be awkward. Like, we had just split. And I was like, fuck, man. Just a mess. So we end up drinking all this whiskey, and I go home, and on the way home, I buy a 6-pack of beer. I drink those, but then I'm like, okay, well, what I need to do is I just need to take a shower and sober up, right? So I take a shower, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'll be fine. So I drive to go pick them up, and I'm hammered, and somehow I got them to my mom's house. And as soon as I walked in the door, my mom was like, what the fuck? Like, why are you driving around with these kids like that? Like, what are you doing? So my parents had to take them to the family function on Thanksgiving. And I had to ride with my brother, crying the whole way there, drunk, like, but can't enjoy it. I'm drunk, like, the fact, like, I don't want to be drunk, and it was just a shit show. It was so embarrassing, dude. You know what I did when I got home that night? Drank some more. Like, I just went right back to it. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't have the kids. They went to their mom, so I was like, I'm drinking. And I remember Ashley was having a conversation with me about this, like, when I got home, and I was already drunk again. And it was just craziness. Like, what am I doing? But did you ever try the detox method of just doing a different substance?
Of course.
I did that for years. Oh, yeah. It was like, oh, I'm going to just do Adderall or do meth. Mm-hmm. That way I won't have to go through detox.
My go-to was whenever it was like, okay, you got a problem, you need to stop. I would just stay up for like 5 or 6 days straight on meth. And then pass out for a couple days and wake up and be like, man, I just skipped that whole detox of the heroin.
Right. Now I'm going to go get some more heroin.
Now I'm going to go get some more heroin because I'm cured.
Yeah. Dude, it's craziness. What about, like, did you ever have, like, any weird hiding spots or anything like that? Creative hiding spots?
Off the top of my head, I'm sure I did. Like, I know when I was younger and, like, when I did live at my mom's house when I was younger, the VCR... you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Slide shit inside the VCR. But I mean, I just kind of had, like, once I, like, that apartment that my mom paid for that I was talking about earlier, I I don't remember if I didn't really have weird spots. I would just stash it everywhere.
Yeah.
To where I remember once I finally got locked up, the last time I got locked up and I lived in that apartment years ago, I remember calling my mom one day while I was in jail just to talk. And she told me that they had went and cleaned out that apartment. And she was like just appalled, like disgusted
right.
at everything that she found. Like neat, because I used to go, I don't know, but I don't know if you still can, but I used to go to Walmart and I would buy a box of 100 syringes at a time.
Yeah.
And they would just be everywhere, like randomly, like just hidden behind this or on this dresser, just everywhere. Yeah. So they were, cleaning out my apartment and just finding, and who knows what else they found, because I don't know what I'd hidden and what, you know what I mean? But, just in my car, I would always tear my cars apart.
Yeah.
Break shit to slide this out and put something in there, but I didn't typically need to hide the drugs because I did them. You know what I mean? I didn't need to, because then it was like, well, if I hide these and then I forget where I put them, I'm not going to have it.
Well, so I was like always living like two separate lives, right? So, or trying to portray, so I'm trying to hide it from everyone in my house, so it was like, I mean, there was a point in my bathroom where I had the panel for the light switch on the wall. I would take it off and tape like cellophane to the back of it and then put it back on and then go in there and just unscrew it real quick and take it out and crush a couple of pills up and then put it back, But I made sure that I had like 4 different hiding spots and divvy it all up, because if someone found one, they wouldn't find all of it. They wouldn't find all of my stash.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just the crazy stuff that we do. Then I'd be freaking out like, I know I have some hidden somewhere else. Like, where?
Yeah.
Because it's like, did I hide it in plain sight? Is it in my car? Is it on the back of the toilet? Like, where's this bottle at? Like, where? I know I have one. Like, it's just a crazy way to live.
Yeah, so I will say, I guess there was, so back then, right, I lived on my own. Mm-hmm. The girlfriend that I had back then.
Yeah, there's no need to hide it.
She knew what I did.
Yeah.
She was involved, so I didn't have to hide anything back then. But fast forward some time, like you said, I've got a wife and kids, and I've also lived that double life to where I'm hiding everything. For the most part, though, it always stayed on my person.
Right.
Because heroin and fentanyl is a little different than pills. You know what I mean? It's a powder form. So I would be able to have it in the bag, and I used to carry a wallet back then, not for purposes you'd typically carry a wallet for, but it always had my shit in it.
Yep.
But it stayed in my pocket. Mm-hmm. No matter jeans, basketball shorts, sweatpants, it was in my pocket.
Yeah.
Because I knew where it was at, and nobody was going to dig in my pockets to find it. Right. But the only weird spot I had, I guess then, which not really weird, but I had like a hide key. Mm-hmm. And I would stick it inside, like under the grill, but inside, because I'm like, my wife's not going to use the grill, only I do.
Right.
So I would put it there. Or a couple times it was under the, at the bottom of your gutter, the little, like the little brick that the water runs down and drains away from your house. Sometimes I might stash something under that.
Right.
Those are about, but other than that, it was always like, it's got to be on me. Mm-hmm. That way no one can find it.
Yeah. I mean, just the crazy things that I did to get the next one. I remember there was a time when I was in the Air Force and I was being kicked out because of my alcoholism, because the whole time I was there, that's all I did was drink. Didn't go to class. I was like, I'm in tech school, and I'm like, I ain't going to class. I'm gonna get drunk.
Yeah.
Like
Makes more sense.
yeah, like it just everyone's like, how come you never go to class? I'm like, because I'm doing dusters and drinking beer. Like that's what I do, you know. And I remember, so when they kick you out, or when you're being transitioned out, they put you in this place called T-Flight. It's transition flight. So it's a dorm full of people that are being kicked out. You know, so it's just like chaos. You know, there's all kinds of crazy shit going on, but they still had certain rules, you know, like you can't go to the liquor store on base. You know, you can't. So on the weekends, we would have, what are they called? Like, my mind's going blank. People from the reserves would come in and like babysit us. And it was easy to get away with shit. And there was this time they're like, look, we want to get some beer. We want to get some liquor. You're the only one that's 21. We need you to go to the liquor store. But the way it was set up, like you had to walk by their office to get out. So we came up with this great plan where this guy I was going to rappel down 2 stories out of the window. And we're going to wrap a bed sheet around me, you know, and he's going to let me down, then pull me up whenever I get back, right? Great plan. Fantastic plan. What I didn't realize is this guy didn't like me because this was a co-ed dorm, and there was a girl there that liked me that he liked. So as I get down like 2 steps down the wall, he lets go, and I fall 2 flights down and land on the ground, about break my back, about die. And my first thought wasn't, fuck this guy. It was, I got to get to the liquor store. Right. You know, like I'm already down here. Like I got to run to the liquor store. Like I'm out. Right. Not how am I going to get back in? Yeah. You know, so of course he wasn't there to let me back in. You know, and I got all this liquor in my backpack and I show up and I have to go through the front door. And they're like, where have you been? I was just like, I went to the gym, you know, or something stupid. I don't know. Because I had a backpack and I was like, I went to the gym. And they just let me back in. Like, but it was crazy. Like, I'm willing to be dropped 2 stories to get some alcohol. Like, even though I'm already in trouble, I've already came back from being court-martialed and locked up, you know, and if I get in trouble again, I can get locked up again. Mm-hmm. But that's not going through my mind. What's going through my mind is I need to drink. Yeah. Like I need to do something. Like it's not okay. It's not good enough for me to just sit in here and watch TV and have food and, you know, like, no, like we're going to the roof, man. Like I have to do something. Yeah. Like I can't stand that feeling of not having drugs or alcohol. Mm-hmm. And like it didn't start then, but like that's when, looking back, like it was like, man, this is when I started really like having consequences of it. And then it just progressively got worse. And I mean, I just did so many crazy things for the next one. Yeah. You know, like I'll leave work. Like I got to pay bills, like, but I'll leave work every day early to go to the bar. To drink 3 or 4 beers and then drive home and then wonder why my paycheck is short. Yeah. You know, like just, I don't know, I'm so glad I don't have to live like that today.
Yeah. So I've had several different bottoms, right? Mm-hmm. So like back before the first time I ever tried to get sober, which was when I was an IV drug user, right? And I would do all the crazy shit to get the next one, robbing people, you know, just whatever it is, breaking into houses and, you know, just whatever it took, right? And then, like you said, I started getting to the point to where it started catching up to me, you know, and at that time I remember, like, not just breaking into houses or ripping off drug dealers or family members, whatever it was. I was even like, couldn't even, when I would get a job, like I remember working at a pizza place as a delivery driver. And I would literally deliver the pizza. They would pay by credit card. And then I would look at the credit card receipt to figure out, how can I manipulate this receipt for more money? And I would do it. And of course, eventually get caught. And
Get fired.
only thing that happens is I got fired. I still had no consequences for that. They never called the police. They just fired me, right? They should have called the cops and been like, look, this dude is stealing from all these customers, because most of them I got away with, but they would start to catch on, and they're like, call me in the office, and they're like, bro, look at this stack of receipts we found. And I'm like, that's all you found?
You're like, oh, cool. I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah, that's all you found? So I did that kind of stuff, and, that's what I did, whatever I had to do to support the habit, and then eventually led to everything started catching up to me. And now I'm sitting there and I'm like, what's happening? I've got felony cases in Louisville. I've got felony cases in Bullitt County all at the same time. And now I'm locked up and sitting down for a little while. And, then I get out to get sober, right? And got sober for some time and went back out. And when I did go back out, it was always, I'm not going to go back to the needle.
Right.
So
I learned my lesson.
I held true to that, though, somehow,
Right.
over since that time. But the bottoms were always so different. Like at that time, it was very dark physically and emotionally, you know what I mean? And everything. It was a very dark time. But after that, it was when I would go back out, like the emotional bottoms happened so fast. The guilt and shame.
Because we know we're doing wrong.
Yeah.
And we don't want to. It's not like we were raised to be bad people.
Right. And it was just so much worse. Like, I didn't lose everything, though, after relapsing, like, somehow.
Right.
Didn't. I very well probably should have, but, still wasn't homeless, or I didn't lose the material things. It was just the emotional and mental state was gone.
Yeah.
So much faster. So I it's just, though, it's not weird, but I can look back and see the different bottoms that I've had.
Yeah, mine have been different as well. Like, I remember the first real bottom to where I was really going to try and get sober. Because there was times where I was going to try and get clean before, and it was half-assing it. I don't really want to get clean, but I want my wife to get off my back type stuff. It'd be like, okay, Brian, you got to stop taking these pills. And that's what I thought. I was just like, okay, it's the pills are the problem, because they're the thing that I'm physically dependent on. They're the things that make me sick if I don't take them. Because I wasn't physically dependent on alcohol. I hadn't gotten to that point with my alcohol use. It was bad, but it was more bingey. It wasn't, I didn't have to drink every day. A lot of times I did, but I didn't have to. But the pills, I had to. It was I'm going to be sick if I don't take the pills. So there was one time where it was okay, my wife found my stash. She was like, you have this many pills. We're going to wean you off of these. I'm going to give you, she had them. She's like, I'm going to give you so much for so many days, and then we're going to cut that in half, and then for so many days, and then we're going to cut that in half until to where you can function still and go to work and everything. But I manipulated that. It was this detox isn't that bad, baby, because I'm getting them on the side, and I'm taking them plus the ones that she's giving me, and just craziness. But there was a time when I first really made an attempt at getting sober, I'd been on opiates for 10 years, pretty much daily for 10 years. And I went to an outpatient program, because I don't need inpatient. I'm not that bad. I'm not like you people, so I'm different. So All I got to do is just get through the withdrawal. And that withdrawal, it lasted 20 something days because there was Suboxone in there too, where I was taking, because the times that last year when I didn't have pain pills, they were getting harder and harder to get. And it was like I started taking Suboxone, to avoid withdrawal. So I took Suboxone off and on for like a year. So that withdrawal, it was like 20 something days, and it sucked, man. Like I was still going to IOP and struggling, like just physically, like this sucks, man. Like I'm in a bad way. And that wasn't enough, I stayed sober for a couple months and back to it, because I was like, oh, I'm good now. Like I know better. I'm not going to take the pills. So I would just drink and smoke weed. And then before you know it, I can take a couple pills. I'm just not going to get hooked on them again. And then next thing you know, here I am, then I'm back to taking Suboxone again. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to take these pills. So maybe I'll just, what's this thing? Adderall? Yeah, okay, I'll try that. Maybe I'll get some shit done, and I'm working a third shift job, in a factory. So I'm like, these things are everywhere, like everyone's taking them or selling them, and there's a lot of Coke mixed in there. And then one time I told myself, always, the one drug I will never do is meth. That's what white trashy people do. Like I'm not doing that. Like that's like crack to me. It's like I'm not doing it. I'm not a meth head. And one day at work, I'm just sitting there and the guy across from me is like, got some meth. Just out of the blue, I got some meth. And I was like, okay, that's weird. I was like, I looked at him different, like loser. And then the guy that I was buying pills from was like, yeah, I'm out. And I was like, huh?
What do you mean?
What do you mean you're out? And I was like, I don't have anything else. I was like, I'm fucked. And then I was like, hey, can I try that? And then next thing you know, I'm doing meth. And it's like just craziness. But like the bottoms were always different. It's like there was always a physical aspect to them. But the emotional, like you said, the emotional bottom got worse and worse and worse because it just compiles. Like the shame, the guilt, like, because I don't want to be doing this stuff,
right.
But it's like I don't know how else to live. Like I have to do it. And that's that survival instinct in your brain that kicks in with is like, it's fight or flight. Like I have to do this because not doing it, I feel worse than when I do it. But then I'll wake up the next day, and it talks about in the big book those hideous four horsemen, like the frustration, despair, bewilderment, and terror. And I'll think about all the things I did yesterday, and I'm like, fuck, man, why'd I do that? But then I'm like, then I feel like shit, and I'm like, I don't want to feel like shit. So I guess I'll do it again.
Yeah.
It's like taking life advice from a fucked up person.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I can, thinking back to the last time I used, right, it was, I had gotten to that point to where that emotional bottom was so bad and I was just so done with it. And I truly wanted to be done, but I also knew I was going to be sick, right?
Yeah.
So I went.
That'll change your mind real quick.
Yeah. I went and I bought some, and in my mind, I had it planned out. This is how much I'm going to do, and I'm going to wing myself down.
That way, so many times.
Yeah, that way I'll wing myself down, and then when I detox, hopefully it'll be a little, won't be as bad. And I, like you said earlier, I remember buying it, and I'm just did what I said I'm going to do, but then time goes on, and I'm like, well, I got this. I can do a little more, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this amount. And at some point, I remember it was late at night, and I was like, well, I can do a little bit more before I go to bed, and then I'll have this amount for the morning, and I'll start really detoxing. And I did some more, went to bed, get up the next morning, and I open it up, and I'm like, dump it out, and I'm like, that's it? Like, that's all I saved? I'm like, what is it? And of course, I was already starting to withdraw at that point, and I used that, and it didn't. It didn't even like curb the withdrawal. You know what I mean?
Like, fuck.
It was like such a little amount that
Just
it
a little
didn't do
speck,
it
a little
didn't
taste.
do anything at all. And I was like, fuck, man, like, what am I going to do? And that was the point where my wife started questioning immediately that morning.
You're
and
right.
of course, I lied to her and was like, no, I'm not using again.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not using.
It's a bug going
And,
around.
you know, and that was when she was like, okay, great. Because,
Malibu Jacks.
yeah, we've talked about it, Malibu Jacks. And that's when she put me through the day of hell. And she knew what she was doing. And, you know, but at that point, I was literally like, I was so done and wanted to be done to where I was like, you know what? I got to get through this day, and then I'm going to be sick, you know. And that was when that same night, that was on January 1st of 22, that's where the withdrawal had got so bad that night to where I was like, I got to get something to take the edge off, and ended up falling out in my driveway that night and came to hours later. And when I came to and got into the house, that was like the worst emotional bottom I'd ever been at, because
Yeah.
all I could think about was my wife and kids too. Like, what if they had found me dead in the driveway that night? What if I didn't, for some reason, wake back up that night? Because I mean, I was out there for hours in the freezing cold. And I just remember like physically like dragging myself back into the house. Like,
Yeah.
how I couldn't tell you. Like, why I can't woke up, I don't know, you know, but it was for a reason, obviously, you know. But that at that point, that bottom was so bad to where it was like, okay, here we are, just pass out on this in your recliner right now, and now we got to do something. We got to do something. And that was where it was just the worst emotional bottom that I'd ever had.
It makes me think about, like, we were talking a little bit before we started recording about it's okay to not be okay. You know, and I always thought that reaching out for help was like this, just weak, you know, like, well, not only was it weak, but it was also, I don't want to be exposed.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going to have to answer some really hard questions, you know, and I don't want to answer them because I don't know about being honest. I don't know how to be honest. You know, my wife used to catch me red-handed and I'd be like, nope.
Not me.
Like I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know how that got there, even though you saw me put it there. I don't know how it got there. You know, like, it's just, I didn't want to face any of that stuff. But eventually, like you said, like, I got put in a place where there was just no more lying. Like, I didn't have another lie left. I tried. I tried a couple that I had in the holster. Like, I'm going to throw a couple at it. And it was like, just stop. Like, just stop.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're done here with this lying bullshit. Like, what's really going on? It's like, fuck, man. Like, and I got blasted on social media, you know, like, because I'd been stealing pills from my best friend. And his wife found out, or they found out, and she put me on blast. Like, she put it all on Facebook. This guy's a thief. He's a liar. He's an addict. All this stuff for everybody to see. My grandma saw it. My mom saw it. My kids saw it. Like, everybody that's friends with me on Facebook saw it. It was humiliating. But I was like, and at first I was like, how dare she? You know, like, my kids will see this, you know. But at the end of the day, I started that whole ball rolling because I'm the one that stole from her. Or I didn't steal from her. I stole from her husband. But I stole, basically, is what the bottom line is that. But I'm looking back, it was so humiliating. It was like the biggest embarrassing thing that ever, one of the worst things that ever happened to me, because I was just so much shame. But looking back, I'm glad it happened because it needed to happen. I needed to be called out like that, because if it would have just been swept under the rug or just, you're dead to us, don't talk to us anymore, I don't know if I would have had that same feeling of I need to do something different
Right.
because I got exposed. And when I got exposed, I was like, oh, fuck, man. Like, I don't like this. You know, like, things really do need to change. Like, I don't have control over this like I thought I did. You know, I thought, you know, if you would just let me do what I want to do, everything would be fine.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and I told her that to a therapist in rehab one time. And I was like, you know, I wouldn't have to lie to my wife if she would just let me do drugs the way that I want to do them, then I wouldn't have to lie about it. She's like, do you hear yourself? Like, that's crazy. You know, and I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I wouldn't lie if she would just allow me to do it. She's like, she doesn't want you to die. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
That kind of makes sense.
I hadn't really thought of it that way, you know, but just shows the level of selfishness that I had, you know. But, oh, God, man, there's just so many. They're popping in my head, just all these times of just humiliation. But it finally took that bottom of, so we can hit 1,000 bottoms. But if we don't hit a bottom that makes us want to change, we're just going to hit another bottom.
Yeah.
You know, because you can say, oh, well, he got a 5th DUI. Surely he'll stop drinking. It's like, well, if that bottom didn't produce the willingness to want to change, then he's going to drink again.
Yeah.
You know, or he's got prison time hanging on the shelf over his head. Like, I mean, people drink when they're on probation.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not enough. It can be. But if that doesn't give you some kind of willingness to do something different, then you can we never really hit bottom until we die, right? Because you can just pick that shovel back up and keep digging deeper. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I know for me, like, what kind of kept me going longer was, like you said, reaching out can be so hard.
Yeah.
You know, and it was at that time, my last use, I had been in and out for a while. So I didn't have using buddies anymore.
Right.
I didn't
It's just you.
I didn't have people that did the things that I did in my life. Like the only person that 100% knew what I did was my drug dealer.
Right.
No one else. I did, you know what I mean? It was a double life. And all my friends were sober and had been sober and were doing wonderful things with their life. And here I am.
Strung out.
Still strung out, but trying to portray that I have this beautiful family, which I do, but I'm trying to paint this picture of something that it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, and when I finally hit that bottom and on that last night there, and I woke up that next day and I told my wife that I had relapsed, and she's like, yeah, no shit. Why do you think I just put you through a whole day of hell?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I know. So she even kind of helped break me there. You know what I mean? And, you know, when I picked up that phone and I made that phone call, and I was so ashamed to call him and tell him what I had done and I needed help. And without skipping a beat, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And he was through my front door, probably quicker than 20 minutes.
Right. Probably
You know
felt
what I
like
mean?
2 hours to you.
Right. And I mean, he was there. Oh, it was really fast. Even in the state I was in, he was there really fast, you know, and just picking up that phone though and doing that and just having some willingness to do something different. That's what was the deciding factor, you know, because I could stay out in that self-pity even longer, you know.
Oh, yeah. It's very easy to.
Yeah.
You know, because like we get in our mind like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. But then once that stuff starts to kick in, that the physical detox, the emotional, like all that hits, it's like, man, like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know, like I really want to do this, but this sucks.
Well, I remember, so that day before I went into treatment, like, and I called him and told him, I remember sitting there and I was so sick and just was so done. But I remember my text. I got a text message from my dealer because they would also just give me whatever I wanted because they knew I was going to pay them. They knew, no questions asked. If I ever called them, hey, can I go just get this? I'll pay you later. There was never a no.
Right.
It was always, come on. But I remember getting a text, hey, haven't heard from you. Because at this point, they hadn't heard from me in 2 days now, which is not normal.
Right.
So I remember getting the text, hey, haven't heard from you. If you need something, come on by. And I'm sitting there sick, knowing that, hey, I have now made this call to go to treatment. Like, I could just go pick this up one last time.
Right.
And I didn't do it. I was so
I feel like
done.
that's God intervening on your life.
Yeah, I just didn't even respond. And I remember being in treatment, and maybe a few days in during the detox portion, or maybe it was right when I got out of detox over to the residential side, I had to do something. I needed my phone, something work related or whatever it was. But I remember the case manager giving me my phone, and as soon as I turn it on, of course, the messages are blowing up. But the only one that stuck out to me was, again, from the dealer.
Mm-hmm. It's like your mind automatically
And
goes to
they're
that one.
And they're like, hey, everything okay? And
Don't be a stranger.
I just instantly went in and, I remember giving Aaron my phone, and I was just like, hey, that text, block that number, and then delete it out of my phone. Block the number and delete it. And so she went in and did it for me, you know what I mean, and got rid of it, blocked it so they could never call me anymore. And I don't know their number by heart, so I wasn't going to be able to call them at some point. So, but I don't know why that popped in my head just now, but that was something stepped in at that point, though, when they even said, hey, just come by and get whatever you need. And I didn't do it.
Right.
I was just at that point to where my bottom was so bad that I was just done.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I'm not. Even though I know I'm going to rehab today,
Right.
I'm going sick.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go in there feeling good. I want to go in sick and just let's.
Well,
do
it
this.
talks about in the big book, right, where you have two choices, like keep going on, blotting out our consciousness to the bitter end, or accept spiritual help.
Because I would have went and got that.
You might have died.
I might have died, and I most likely wouldn't have showed up that day.
Yeah. So that was Brian that showed up at your house, right? Right. So this is why it's so important that we recover and that we maintain our sobriety and grow in it, right? Because if he hadn't stayed sober, if he hadn't done what he needed to do to stay sober, then he wouldn't have been there for you to call.
Right.
So that's why, that's our primary purpose, right, is to show up for the next person. So that's why it's so important that we stay involved and we stay in this thing, because that person that calls, that's someone's kid, that's someone's wife or husband or brother, sister, whatever, and I have kids, and I want, I don't know, but one day my kids might be in the same boat. One of them might be. And I want them to have someone that they can call that will show up, so it's important that's why it's important that we recover, not just for our own life and not just for our family's sake, but for that next person. That I believe that's probably, and I don't know this, but probably why you didn't die that night when you were out there in the cold, is because there's a plan for you you can use your experience to help somebody that's going to go through the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, I overdosed, and it's like, oh, really? Like, me too. Yeah. Like, look where I'm at now. So like that's why it's so important that we recover, because for the next person.
Yeah.
So that's really good that he was there for you like that. You know?
Definitely. And he wasn't the only one.
Right.
Obviously, there's been so many Because even before I went into treatment that day, I had to make multiple phone calls that he was like, I'm going to help you. But before I can help you, you now need to call X, Y, and Z. And,
Like, fuck.
and I'm like, man. And here I am on the phone with another guy that has been sober for a long time. And, he's the owner of this treatment center.
Right.
And he's done things for me in the past, and now I've got to call and tell him. And, and that's why, and that was one of the driving factors. Like, I told him, and I meant it when I told him, if you'll give me this opportunity to come to your treatment center, you will not regret it, and I will not let you down. You know, and that's one of the things, like, I've talked about before today. It's not, like, yes, I got sober for me, because I was ready and I wanted to live, but I owe it to so many people.
Yeah.
Not just myself anymore.
It's a sense of responsibility.
Yeah. Like, I owe the owners of this center and Brian, who came through for me, and other staff members there, and friends and family and employers and people in AA in the rooms and my sponsees. Like, I owe this to them now.
Yeah, I mean, we're needed.
Yeah.
We're needed. And like you said, our family, like, this just, like, when we're sick, it affects everybody. Right. But the same thing happens when we're well. That affects everybody. So the last thing that I want to do is harm my family. So in order to not harm my family, okay, there's some things I got to do, and that's okay. Like, I'm willing to do that now. Yeah. And something I brought up earlier is, like, it's okay to not be okay, right? So that doesn't just apply when we first get sober. Like, that applies now. Like, it's okay to admit to somebody, like, hey, man, I'm scared. Or, hey, man, I got a resentment going. Or, man, I'm just in a funk right now. Like, I'm just not doing good. But I feel like the longer that we're sober, the harder that is to do sometimes. Because our pride and our ego, it's like, well, I've been sober 5 years. I don't want someone to know that I'm being this petty. I don't want someone to know that I'm worried about this, because I put on this facade that, I got everything under control. Everything's good over here, but that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, that's weak. Like, we don't think it's weak. We think it's a sign of strength that I can handle everything, but really being vulnerable is where the strength is. It's like, hey, man, like, go through it. I don't know what to do. And that's okay. Like, that's showing some actual humility.
Yeah.
And that comes from, just doing certain things over a period of time to where we're able to do that. But yeah, it's okay to not be okay today. But it's not okay to stay there.
Right.
Is the difference, right? It's like, it's not okay to stay in a funk or in resentment or fear or whatever the fuck it is, right? We can't stay in it, right? It's okay, you had your day of pissing and moaning and pouting. Like, okay, now it's time to talk to somebody about it. Yeah. Go do something.
That's the beauty of this whole thing. Is everything we get to experience, the ups and the downs and the tools and the solutions that we have today that, really, like, it's so simple.
It is. It is.
It's so simple.
It really is.
And I just fought it and made it this huge thing for so long, and I don't know, it's a beautiful life today, man. And, I'm so grateful for just everything I have today, and I still get in that place to where sometimes I might be a little ungrateful.
Yeah, I mean, we're human.
Yeah, but it's like, man, fucking sack up, bro. What are you doing today?
Yeah, like, come on, man. Like, you're choosing this.
Yeah, so, like I said, I owe this to so many people and, several people that, with amends and stuff that have told me, you know, like there's debts that I could never physically repay, right? And there's, you know, they've told me just stay doing the right thing and stay sober. Like I took that shit serious.
Yeah.
You know, if that's what it takes to repay this debt and right this wrong that I did to you, like that's what's going to happen today.
Yeah, because if we don't, then we haven't made it right.
Right. So I also know that my part to ensure that I'm able to make good on that is I have to stay in the solution and keep working on myself and being of service to other people.
And it's so much easier to stay in the solution once you're in it than to have to get in the solution from a place of the problem. You know, so if you're like in the problem, it seems like this huge deal, right, to get into the solution. And it is, it's hard, right? If it wasn't, more of us would do it. But once you're in it, it's so much easier to stay in it than it is to constantly be, okay, I'm in the problem, I'm staying in the problem, now I got to get back into the solution. Like it's hard to get back in, but if you just stay in it, it's so much easier. And that doesn't mean that we don't get in problems, but you know what I mean when I say the problem. I'm like, once we go back out, then it's hard to get back in, you know. And but like you said, man, like today is so great, right? Like, and it might not be a perfect day. It rarely is, right? But I don't have to put anything up my nose today. I don't even think about putting anything up my nose. Like that's the even cooler part. Like it's like I don't even think about it. Like it doesn't register as like a thing to do anymore. Like it's just gone. Right? It's just this freedom of I'm just like everybody else now. You know, like I wake up and I do the things that I do. Like I don't think, oh, I got to get something in me, you know, so that I can get through the day or so I can, you know, get out of bed. You know, I don't have to do that today. And that's just, it's a miracle is what it is. It's a fucking miracle that we're both sitting here, you know, with a total of 9 years of sobriety time. Like that's nuts. Like I'm sure if I would have known you back then, I would have been like, ain't no way. You know, and if you would have known me, you'd be like, this guy's going to drink and pop pills forever. You know, like people that every once in a while I'll run into somebody that I used to run with or something, and they're like, you're sober? I'm like, yeah. Like, wow. Like, didn't see that coming. I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I was,
you know, I have people all the time that tell me that, you know, they don't know me in that light of when I used to use.
Most people don't know me from that.
How bad I used to be, and people are like, I just couldn't picture you like that. And I'm like, thank God. You know, I'm like, you wouldn't have wanted to know me. You know. I stole your purse.
Yeah.
You know, like,
you better hope you don't have anything of value in your medicine cabinet.
Right.
Because it's gone.
Yeah. So.
God, good Lord.
I guess you got anything else before we wrap it up?
No, man. Just, you know, I just thought it was important tonight that we maybe talk about, you know, let people know kind of where we're coming from because, you know, we're so solution driven, but sometimes we got to qualify ourselves and kind of let people know that we're coming from a place of experience, not just knowledge. You know, so you don't have to live like that anymore. You 100% don't. There's millions of us that don't.
Right. Absolutely. You know, if anybody out there is still struggling, and you're watching, or you know someone that's struggling, you know, feel free to have them reach out to us. I'm here. I know Brian's always here. If I know for me, I was bottom of the barrel junkie. Rainwater in my rigs if I had to type shit. You know, that's true story. You know, no water available. Here's a rain puddle. That's the type of junkie I was, and I know you've been there too. So if we can do it, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. If I can stay sober and you can stay sober, you know, anybody can. You know, so we love you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Give us a like, subscribe, and we will catch you next time.
Next time.